Mate, thank you so much for taking time to come and meet with us and talk with us today. Our listeners and viewers are generally really interested in things that help improve the performance of the New Zealand housing system, especially for low and moderate income households. And I wondered if you could start by introducing the concept of a community land trust for those who might not have heard of it before.
Sure.
What is it? How does it work? And why would we want to do one?
Yeah, why should there be more of them? So a community lands trust, in its very core essence and principle, is the separation of the value of the land versus the value of the building that sits on top of it. So a lands trust is there to hold in perpetuity the land and provide then affordable housing initiatives to people within the community, whether that be through affordable rental options or leasehold or, rent to own sort of schemes that sits on top of that land. But in essence, the land is held in perpetuity to provide those affordable housing initiatives to the community forever. So how the Waikato Community Lands Trust works, if I could pinpoint to
Yes,
a specific.
please. And you've got some here operating right now?
Yes, we have eight units
fantastic.
on First Street, actually in Hamilton East. So how we run it is that we've got a model that's on those 8 units, but we're looking to explore other models that we could put onto others, depending on what best suits that piece of land and the community at the time. So for us, the units are affordable rentals at the moment, helping people who are in that lower social housing need to have a sustainable place to live that they can actually afford, close to amenities that they could go to work without having to drive a car, for example. So that's the model that we have in place at the moment.
Who looks after the household who are living in the house?
Yes, that's a really good question. So Habitat for Humanity,
Ah,
so we partner with them
yep.
and they put their screening process through, ensure that the people that go in are well looked after, that they understand how to look after the house, and in turn, we are partnering them to see what other models that we can put in place. So for example, if there was people within those units who are looking to buy, is there an option for us to then say, actually, you've done an amazing job through the rental scheme. Why don't we look at a rent-to-own model or progressive home ownership model for you for the specific house, if it still suits your life circumstances.
Perfect. Now tell me, how do you access the land to grow the number of properties that are available through this mechanism?
Yeah, this is the tricky part, is that everyone is wanting to almost build empires with land. And that's the bit where we need, as a community, to come together and recognise that the benefit of a lands trust is always back to the community forever. And that's where we need generous people or inclusionary zoning as a policy change in its outright to enable to build and scale a model like this. I know Queenstown Lands Trust has been touted as a fantastic model, but a model that only could work if the supply end through inclusionary zoning came into effect.
Yes.
So that's something that we advocate for as part of what we do at the Lands Trust, is advocacy for policies like inclusionary zoning to change the makeup of what is provided into the community. How we first started was through a very generous grant through Hamilton City Council of $2 million. And that gave us the first 4 units of our 8 development, if you will. And then we were able to leverage off of that grant to then purchase the other 4 of that same development, doubling it. For us, our strategy is definitely thinking of scaling. How do we do this again and put in different models that suit different families? At the moment, our 8 units are 2 beddies, 1 garage. That's not going to suit everyone, especially if you've got a large family, for example. But we are open to having a more community feel within our developments, that we own all 8, that if you have a large family of 6 people, a 2-beddie is not going to work for you. But if you take 2 units, then that might. It still enables you to keep your family together, still well housed, warm, and in a central location that has good access to schools, transport and jobs. And that's something that we consider when we look at these
Tell me,
developments.
your trust at this point in time is only here in Kirikiri or Hamilton?
Correct.
Do you have allies and a network across Aotearoa of like-minded people?
Yes, so we do have good connections into the Queenstown Lakes Trust, for example, and they've helped us do thinking in how do we set up this current trust structure. But we would love to expand more outside of Waikato. So we do have connections into the different councils, but that is a bit of a hard stretch.
Yes.
Don't want to.
Just to be clear and to
Yes.
disclose our interests as Community Housing Aotearoa, we're very, very strong supporters of value capture and
Yes.
inclusionary housing, inclusionary zoning.
Yeah.
And so we would be delighted to collaborate with you on growing that. What we've observed is that in the Queenstown Lakes example, it's left the territorial local authority quite exposed to litigation and to carrying that risk on their own. And so we're really wanting to lean in on a national legislative approach for inclusionary zoning, inclusionary housing that would de-risk it for the local authorities and make them feel a little bit safer to implement inclusionary policies. How's the engagement going in the local Hamilton context around inclusionary?
It's somewhat stalled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the 10-year plan has put it off to the side as almost in the too hard basket. What we would love to do, as you're saying, is how do we collaborate more as an ecosystem to enable policy like that to be executed well, so that litigation further down the line is not going to be a barrier for this policy to be executed. Yeah.
And in some ways, if I could characterize it, from a property developer perspective, it's often talked about as another tax or an unwanted additional cost.
Yes.
I think we have a role to play, perhaps together, in educating the public and others of the role, particularly at that point when land is being upzoned at the local government level.
Yes.
When no investment or work has actually been done to change the nature of the land, it's simply a signature on a piece of paper that is allowing a zone change, automatically uplifting the value of that land significantly with no real investment.
Yes.
All we're really asking for is to capture a little part of that value uplift for the benefit, as you say, in perpetuity of the community.
And I think that's absolutely right. I think people think of it, I know development is expensive. We know plenty of developers who just say it's just so hard. Completely understand that. But you're changing people's mindsets to think about what is the future generation and the legacy that they want to leave behind for not just their family, but the whole community is something that definitely needs more work to be done around. Yeah. And the thing is, my mission and purpose is all about building a better future. And in New Zealand, we have such amazing knowledge, especially in housing, for example. And what I find is that it's so hard for us to think bigger than just where we are right now. That's a perpetual challenge. And understanding that actually, in order for us to get bigger, better, is to work together, because we can't do it by ourselves. And you asked, one of your key questions was what are the barriers for this to be spread further? And I think it's everyone is trying to empire build themselves. And I think the thing that we need to do is to put the ego aside and actually work together constructively and understand that we are all on the same page of trying to build a better future. That's, I think for me, that would be, how do we do that? How do we get people all around the table speaking the same conversation and trying to move things actually significantly forward rather than incrementally at a snail's pace? Yeah.
And that realization that will, everybody wins.
Yes.
When you do that.
Like you don't get nothing of a nothing pie. You get something of a bigger pie. But it's better than nothing of a nothing pie.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, I'd love to see CLTs explode.
Me too.
And it's definitely part of our cunning plan from a community perspective, because the minute you, as you know, from Queenstown Lakes, the minute you remove the land from the equation, affordability is almost immediately achievable.
Yes, absolutely. And it actually is, because when I moved to New Zealand as a young child, having a stable home is actually your basis of building wealth within your family. And that's the first rung on the ladder. If you are constantly moving because you can't afford the rent, or your family has to move to this zone or this zone, that actually changes your lived experience. And then being able to put roots down, care for this thing, and empower you and your family to go from there is the special. Oh, I'm preaching to the choir. You guys know this already.
Thank you so much for taking time to talk well today.
No worries.